Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me today on this episode of Changemakers of the Pandemic. I'm super excited to be joined by some young changemakers from the North South Foundation. Thank you all so much for joining me today. Can you start by giving me a brief overview of the North South Foundation and the work that you've been doing for COVID?
So we would first like to start off by thanking Ashoka for allowing us to speak and share our story. So the North South Foundation just concluded its 30-year anniversary celebration at its contest held last year in MIT Cambridge. It's a nonprofit organization run by volunteers and is devoted towards conducting various activities around education, including online coaching, information sessions, workshops, bee contests, and it promotes excellence in education and empathy in young minds throughout the US and India. It also offers scholarships to needy children in India who otherwise could not afford to go to school.
That's incredible. You guys are definitely doing a lot of work. And I saw online that you've raised over $10,000 now for the work that you have been doing. So what does that mean for you, and how have you worked to engage your community throughout the process?
Well, the donations themselves mean a lot to me personally because when I first joined the Changemakers, I joined with the intent of, I could just blow this off because it was more of a parental influence, to be honest. But as I joined the Changemakers, I slowly started getting an idea of what it's like to be a changemaker. And so I started seeing all these people around me doing all this excellent work towards these donations, and that sort of got me into it as well. And so the $10,000 thing was personally a huge feat for me, and I believe it was a huge feat for all the other change makers because it's a milestone that shows that we've accomplished a lot more than we originally thought we would.
Wow. I mean, definitely no small feat. Can you tell me a little bit about what inspired you to get involved during the pandemic in the first place?
I can tell mine. When the pandemic hit us, it took a couple of weeks for our schools to transition over to remote learning. We were shocked to know how many students had stopped learning due to the lack of technology resources. As a student, knowing that a single device is stopping a child's education, I was stumped. This propelled me to use propelled us to bridge the digital divide gap in education by providing them personal devices.
Super cool. And I think that's such a big part of it. I even see that, in my own community, that having access to technology is really such a make or break for people's education.
Yeah.
So what sort of testimonials have you received from the students who are getting your devices, and how do you feel about that?
So one student said, "Thank you so much for the computer. It's helping me learn and it's fun." I could visualize a huge smile on their face and an assurance of their bright future through education. This motivated me to help more kids in need, basically.
Wow, that's beautiful. And what was it like for your organization as a whole to sort of see the success of your efforts and just, really understand the impact that you're having?
So we not only heard feedback from students and parents, but we also heard feedback from teachers and officials from schools, thanking our foundation and the Young Changemakers for support and donating and empowering the students by delivering devices during these remote learning times. And one teacher from Sailor Park was moved and said, "Thank you for the generous support and donations." And it enabled additional students to have similar opportunities, just like some of their other classmates. And after hearing this, I can say for myself, like I felt very proud that I had made visible positive impact in my society for students who didn't have the opportunity otherwise to continue remote learning at home.
Wow.
And oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was just going to say that's such a moving testimonial.
When I saw the impact for myself, it was a huge perspective changer. Trying to gather the funds and trying to gather donations, that was something else. But seeing this impact, it really solidified my motivation. It really showed me how much more I can actually accomplish by doing this. It really allowed me, as Trisha said, to see a visible positive impact, and it gave me the drive to make sure that all these other kids can experience it as well.
Super. And obviously, you're a big team, so what role has collaboration and teamwork to play in helping to amplify your efforts?
The Young Changemakers of North-South, at least the part of the group that I'm in, is a group that heavily relies on teamwork. In fact, my dad told me about this African proverb. I think it was like from way back in the day, the proverb itself, not my dad. But the proverb, I believe, goes, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And I think that perfectly encapsulates what the Changemakers are about, or at least the YCNs. It's the fact that, yeah, sure, we could set a small goal point by ourselves, and yeah, we can reach that goal fast. But after reaching that goal, if we want to do more, each changemaker on their own would be fatigued. And so the team itself allows each other to motivate themselves so that they can keep going. And on top of that, the team can help pull in all sorts of separate ideas together to create the best ones to help as many people as possible.
So to add on to that, based on the role of individuals, I think all changemakers agree that empathy, compassion, and excellence are the founding pillars in the change-making journey. So we are a novice team when we started. So some of us had prior experience in some skills while others did not have. So individual change makers, they came together to form a community that was essential role to move this project forward. As an example, our 13 young change makers in the team coordinated various activities such as fundraising, social media, corporate outreach, volunteering, technical and free will donations, skill donations. These are just a few teams that show that we brought different skills to the table, and we mentored each other in different aspects that we didn't know. So these tasks would be very hard to accomplish if we were to do it individually. So I think creating awareness and bringing outreach closer to where it's needed is essential for individual change makers.
Absolutely. And to wrap things up, I'd love to learn from each of you, what advice would you give to other young people who want to make an impact? Krishna, you can start.
Yeah, I'll start. So my advice would personally be that just come with an open mind. That makes all the difference than if you come with a closed one. So when I first started, I started off as in, yeah, this is going to be easy. It's just going to be me simply doing the same thing over and over. And it was more of a closed mindset. I know that sounds a little bit odd to say, but I realized that I wouldn't get anywhere. I wouldn't be able to help as many people as possible if I stayed with that closed mind. So I had to develop an open mind, and that way I was able to get as much advice as I can to help adjust my strategies to help gather donations. And on top of that, having an open mind allows other people to listen to you a lot more because they know that they're willing to take advice as much as you are. And so having an open mind makes all the difference. If you have a closed mind, people aren't willing to listen to you because they know you won't listen to them. And if you have an open mind, they'll listen to you if you listen to them. It's just the simplest combination that makes all the difference in the world.
Definitely. Open mind, super important.
And adding on to that, I have 3 points. Anyone can be a change maker if they have the will and no matter how big or small the change is. And second, in change making process, you will learn a lot of a lot of life lessons, which are very helpful. And thirdly, never hesitate to ask help when you're trying to help another person in need. And another one is, just like Dalai Lama used to say, it is not enough to be compassionate, you must act.
Beautiful. I think four pieces of advice which get to the heart of any changemaker journey. What about you, Trisha? What advice would you give?
So I have a couple of pieces of advice that I've learned as a young change maker. So I'd first like to start off with a quote by Mahatma Gandhi who once said that, "Be the change you wish to see in the world." And I believe that young change makers should get involved as early as possible, and they should cultivate empathy and compassion without fail. They should be not afraid to ask for help, because whether it be in school, in the community, or various organizations, there are always people that are willing to help and empower you to reach your goal. And also, don't be afraid of putting yourself out there, because positive change in society can make a better and happier place. So you don't want to stop until you see change starting to take root, even though it's minute. And I think that reaching out to individuals, organizations, and community groups can help you in your change-making journey.
Wonderful. I just want to thank you so much, all of you, for joining on today's podcast. I love seeing all the work that you're doing and how you've really stepped up in the last few weeks to help the community. It's absolutely incredible. I mean, Raj, you're 10. That's crazy. So thank you so much for joining. And yeah, I loved hearing your story.